Meet Savorista. They have premium craft decaf and half-calf coffee with bold, rich flavor. Made from high-altitude, hand-picked Arabica beans and naturally decaffeinated with water or sugarcane processes, and there's no harsh chemicals.
But if you think chocolate, caramel, citrus, even bourbon pecan and mint and mocha, it's small batch roasted, literally so good, customers call it the best decaf they've ever tried.
Better sleep, less anxiety, all the flavor. Use our code INFOGO to get 25% off at checkout at savorista.com. You can also find that link in the show notes. Hey, William, do you love craft beer?
Yes, I do. We
If you're
can,
looking for the perfect gift for a beer lover or just want to show off your brewery pride, the Harpoon Shop has something you won't find anywhere else.
and here's something special just for our listeners. You can save 25% off just by using our code INFOGO at checkout. You can find that link in the show notes. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Wade.
And I'm Kat,
And that makes this Info on the Go.
feeding your curiosity with every show. So, William, from the title, are we doing an episode on the Brave Little Toaster?
Wait a minute. Are you talking about the movie with the heroic toaster, the lamp, the vacuum, the radio, and the electric blanket?
Yes, but not exactly. I mean, it's kind of about that, but also way bigger. It's about the real story behind the toaster, the one that sits on your countertop every morning.
Oh, so you're talking about the story of the toaster, not the cartoon hero, because there is a little bit of a difference and both have a backstory.
Yeah, absolutely. And from exposed wires that could burn your bread to your kitchen, the invention of the pop-up toasters actually have a surprisingly intense history.
So you're telling me that little appliance that browns my bread went from being a dangerous household experiment to an icon?
So let's start at the beginning, back when toasting bread was a risky, labor-intensive chore, long before our brave little toaster ever popped up on the screen.
So a toaster might be ordinary, just a way to brown bread or a Pop-Tart, but behind this humble little kitchen appliance lies decades of invention, engineering, competition, and even cultural change. I think Kat and I are going to explore this intense and surprisingly interesting story of the toaster. But before we get into the toaster, Kat and I were kind of referring to an old Disney movie, I think it was, The Brave Little Toaster. And it was a group of loyal household appliances. It had a toaster, a lamp, a vacuum, electric blanket, and a radio. And they felt abandoned and they went to go search for their owner.
I'm gonna have to watch that movie again because I feel like there's supposed to be a happy ending there, but I just don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it again. I mean, the first time I watched it was with my nephews or nieces.
I remember watching it at least once,
Anyway,
so I know what it was. I know what it is. I can say that it was a movie that I didn't necessarily need to watch again.
yeah, absolutely, I would say that. But why don't you tell us what life was like before the toaster?
Most households relied on open hearths, wood stoves, or even cold fire ovens for cooking. Toasting bread meant holding slices over the fire with tongs or balancing them on wire racks, which was a slow and risky process. God forbid you accidentally drop your toast.
Oh my gosh. And then you got those tongues and you're holding them over the fire. And where those tongues are at, you know the bread's going to be white. And you're going to have some dude or madam of the house that's going to be like, no, I want that to be browned as well.
Or you're just holding it by the corner of it, hoping for the best.
A wish and a prayer that it doesn't fall into fire.
Yeah, you don't accidentally like release just a little bit.
And then if you get it really burnt, I guess you got to scrape it off, right?
Yeah, but it's not the same.
No, it is not the same. Just call it blackened. Just say, hey, I got you some blackened toast. Be done with it.
Would you like some blackened toast with those eggs?
No, I've kind of wanted just medium brown. Too bad, sir. You're getting blackened toast today.
Uneven toasting was common. A slice could be burnt on one side and barely warm on the other. And in some homes, fire hazards were a real concern, especially in small kitchens with poor ventilation. So in rural areas, toasting bread could involve heated irons or griddles, adding further complexity and danger.
So you just take the burnt side down and put it over the egg so that nobody knows, or put some jelly on it, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Always burn side down.
Yeah, yeah. So toasting bread during this time period, it was time and labor intensive. Preparing breakfast, well, it wasn't a fare for housewives, servants, or cooks. And it was really hard to manage multiple dishes at once. You had to boil the eggs, you had to fry the meat, you had to heat the milk, all while keeping an eye on that bread so that it did not burn. Manually turning the bread to toast both sides, well, it was really a repetitive chore, but it did require consistent attention and precision. While in wealthier homes, specialized kitchen tools like long-handled toasting forks, they were common, and they really showed the effort needed just to make evenly brown toast. I could not imagine this time where you really had to, like, you would have to have a special person just to toast your bread.
If you could afford that kind of thing.
If I was in that time, I would just probably still be out there, with the tongues toasting my bread the night before I needed it.
I mean, I can imagine being in the line somewhere and being like, "Oh, you haven't heard of this new thing?" And I'm like, I don't have one of them. I don't got one of them. What it
Uh,
was? Oh, somebody to toast my bread for me.
you can just eat old stale bread,
If it's stale enough, it feels like toast, right?
I guess. Anyway,
As
that
electricity.
that I was
uh,
gonna say you could always make French toast
Now, French toast, I am down for no matter the time. I will have French toast anytime. That is one of my favorite breakfasts.
instead of using your stale bread to make toast. You could just make French toast.
That sounds like a better plan for stale bread. As electricity spread in urban homes in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, inventors saw opportunities to automate small repetitive tasks like toasting bread. People desired consistency, speed, and safety. They wanted perfectly toasted bread without standing over a fire or risking burns. I mean, is that too hard to ask?
Can you imagine all those hands that were wrapped up in those bandages? Here's your toast, madam.
Right.
What happened to your hands? I got it perfectly on each side just for you.
That's putting real blood, sweat, and tears into like a Mother's Day breakfast in bed or something.
Oh my gosh. What happened to your eyebrows? I was making toast for you.
You see, what had happened was, oh goodness, the cultural shifts in the 1920s promoted the idea of the modern kitchen in America. Appliances were marketed as time saving devices that reflected progress, cleanliness, and convenience. And as a mini fact, early toast racks were standard in middle class homes to hold slices over the fire. They were functional but highlighted the lack of automation and efficiency, foreshadowing the need for an electric solution.
Yeah, so the combination of electrification, domestic desire for convenience, and persistent breakfast challenges, well, it created the perfect environment for the invention of the electric toaster. And the first toaster would not only solve practical problems of safety and consistency, but it would also symbolize modernization of daily life. In the early 1800s, Michael Faraday, he discovered that electric currents could produce heat in conductive wires, a principle known as resistive heating. And this really laid the foundation for all future electric heating appliances, including, well, the toaster. And we want to say that Michael Faraday is really an unsung hero of history.
And not all heroes wear capes.
No, and we're gonna future episode for sure.
hmm You know, uh, by the late 1800s, inventors across Europe began experimenting with resistive wires and coils to toast bread electrically. Early prototypes were rudimentary. Bread was placed near bare wires, which often produced uneven results or even sparks. So, safety was a major concern. Many early designs could start fires if left unattended, and electricity itself was still new and sometimes unreliable.
Could you imagine you're toasting your bread and it sparks or starts a fire?
That does not sound like a fun time.
No. But the first electric toaster, it popped up in 1893, no pun intended. because it didn't really pop up. This was 1893 England by Crompton and Company, and they created one of the first commercially available electric toasters. These were primarily used in restaurants, homes, mainly just for commercial use. Because, well, at this time, most houses really didn't have reliable electricity. And in 1905, Albert Marsh in the United States, he developed the nichrome, a nickel chromium alloy that was both heat resistant and durable, making it ideal for consistent, long lasting heating elements. Nichrome, well, little factoid here, it's still used in modern toasters today. And these inventions, they transformed toasting from, well, an unpredictable, fire prone task into something that could eventually be controlled and be, well, reliable, consistent. No more burned hands or missing eyebrows.
Ugh, none of that. We don't need any of that. Early electric toasters could only toast one side at a time, though, requiring users to still manually flip the bread. And heating was slow and inconsistent as wire placement, bread thickness, and voltage fluctuations affected browning. So fire hazards remained a concern, especially with exposed wires and metal casings.
Yeah, and you'll have to go back to our bread episode, but bread was not consistent during this time either.
But no.
Yeah. So for most homes in the late 1800s to early 1900s, well, they were really just starting to get electricity. So electric appliances like toasters, well, they were still really limited to wealthier households or commercial settings. And this meant that early toasters were innovative, but not really practical for the average family. And this really set the stage for later breakthroughs like the automatic pop up toaster in the 1920s.
The 1920s pop up toaster.
Yeah, could you imagine, the ladies in like the flapper dresses and the guys in like those gangster outfits, and they're like, "Where's my toast?" "I don't know, Bugsy, it's coming up."
Bing. Goodness. You know, by the 1910s, electric toasters existed but remained slow, inconsistent, and sometimes dangerous. Users had to manually flip the slices to achieve browning, and exposed wires posed fire hazards. So, household interest was growing, and people wanted a solution that was fast, safe, and reliable, especially in urban homes where morning routines were increasingly rushed.
Don't stick your fork in it.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine? I mean, how many people were electrocuted? So in 1921, an American inventor, well, he stepped up to solve that problem. Charles Stripe. He patented the first automatic pop-up toaster. His design, well, it addressed a lot of different problems. One, even browning without manually flipping the bread. So his would brown it on both sides. Then he had an automatic pop-up mechanism to remove the bread from the heating elements safely so you didn't have to stick the fork in there. He also incorporated timing mechanisms and spring-loaded trays that could eject the toast when it was done. So his invention, well, it combined mechanical engineering and electrical innovation, really introducing one of the first consumer devices that actively controlled cooking times.
He was cooking.
He was cooking, he was toasting it up, man.
In the mid 1920s, Strite sold his patent to Toastmaster, which began producing the first commercial pop up toasters. And these early machines were initially marketed to restaurants and hotels, but soon found their way into middle class American homes. The first models cost roughly 50 to 60 in the 1920s dollars. That still sounds expensive even today. Okay.
Yeah.
But the equivalent is over $900 today, making them a significant investment.
Could you imagine paying $900 for, and we're not talking about an air fryer or anything like that. We're talking about a toaster
Just toast your bread, man.
for 900 bucks. And we're talking 1920s. Like, no wonder
Mm.
they were robbing banks back then. I mean, they had to buy a toaster.
Well, and they were trying to go through prohibition too.
We gotta have our toast. You took our liquor. We need our toast. So the toaster, well, it featured spring-loaded trays, a mechanical timer, and insulated case for safety because, we don't need people getting electrocuted or burning their house down. Browning was still approximate, but much more consistent than it was in previous designs. And that pop-up mechanism also prevented the toast from catching fire. And this was a serious improvement over open wire models that, you know, came before it.
Every generation is better than the one before it, right?
Maybe
Hopefully.
my generation is excellent.
Mine remains to be seen. Okay, we'll just go with that.
Well, when I say excellence, notice I didn't say perfection because excellence is you make mistakes and you continue to learn from them. Anyway,
That's nice. So mine's excellent also.
okay, all right.
The toaster quickly became a status symbol of the modern times, showing that a household could afford convenience, electricity, and cutting edge appliances. It exemplified the 1920s ideal of a modern kitchen, combining speed, cleanliness, and efficiency all
You
in one.
did that. You did that perfectly, like you were a commercial.
I was trying to. That
Okay,
was my goal.
all right. You nailed it.
Thank you.
Despite its innovation, early users, well, they really often struggled with durability. Coils could burn out, mechanisms jammed, and the toasters required careful maintenance. Learning to use a completely automatic appliance was also new to many of these households. Think about it. It's like buying that first computer. You have your toaster.
Right, right. This is their first automation. Okay.
Yeah,
And then, of
and
course, you still have those people that say it's magic and it should never be brought in their house.
black magic.
Black magic. It's the devil.
Maybe it
But
had a timer on the side, 30 seconds, a minute. I don't know.
maybe you just flipped a switch and it popped back up.
But Strite originally designed his toaster for commercial cafeterias. But domestic adoption, it accelerated when Toastmaster created smaller, more affordable versions. And thus, the toaster was starting to get into the households.
The toaster has spread.
Everybody shall have toast.
Any case, you know, from the 1920s through the 1940s, breakfast became increasingly structured and standardized in American homes. With urbanization and industrial work schedules, families needed quick, reliable ways to prepare food in the morning. The toaster played a key role allowing households to serve warm, consistent toast without long preparation times or fire risk. Some home economics guides in the 1930s advised mothers to let the toaster do the work for perfect toast every morning, highlighting the cultural embrace of appliances.
But could you imagine opening up a book and you see the first thing in there is like, let the toaster do the work for you for that perfect toast every morning?
Toast must have been like a very, very annoying job.
Well, I mean, think about it. I mean, yeah, I can see it being annoying. I can see it being very difficult without a toaster for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even the toasting racks you get in the camping section and toast your own bread or fry your hot dogs or whatever you use it for, it's still kind of a pain.
And Kat, I say before we get into anything else on toasting bread, I say I'm gonna go toast me some bread. What do you think?
Sounds good?
Coke.
Pepsi.
We'll be right back.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, listen up. All of my workforce friends out there, whether you're ranchers, farmers, or you just need a pair of good leather gloves, look no further than Bare Knuckles, the best leather gloves ever made, featuring a patent design crafted for natural curve of the fingers. These gloves deliver a perfect fit, superior protection, and all-day comfort. Made from premium leather, right now get an exclusive 15% off, and you can find that at buybareknuckles.com. But make sure you use our code INFOGO at checkout. You can find that link in the show notes. Upgrade your hands, and remember, every purchase, well, it supports the show. So thank you.
If you love unforgettable treats, you've got to try Molly B's gourmet cookies. These aren't your average cookies. Molly B's brings bold, artisan crafted cookies straight to your pantry. We're talking chocolate, cherry, and amaretto and be cordial. Earl Grey, lavender, white chocolate, and lemon glaze in the tea. Even maple, bacon, whiskey, and white chocolate in The Boss Man. Founded by a single mom from Alaska, Molly Bees has become a national sensation. You get 10% off any product using our code INFOGO at mollybees.com. Find the link in the show notes.
Now that I've enjoyed me a piece of toast with some dandelion jelly, I'm ready to rock on with this. What do you think?
Sounds good.
All right, let's get into advertising and marketing because you got to have advertising and marketing if you want to talk about companies like Toastmaster, Sunbeam, and General Electric, right?
Hmm.
Because they want to promote their toasters as symbols of being modern, clean, and efficient. So the marketing, well, it really emphasized that electric toasters saved labor, improved hygiene, because you didn't have to have any open fire. And I would say that should say safety all around it.
Right.
Not hygiene, but safety. Well, I don't know. You don't really want to go to work smelling like a campfire, do you?
I mean, I feel like at that point in that period of time, people probably just got used to the smell of campfires. But
Mm,
maybe that's why we all like the campfire smell so much, some sort of nostalgic DNA memory. Who knows?
okay. Yeah, I can see that.
That was probably the norm, and maybe you just got used to the smell.
Well, Bob in marketing, he don't smell like a campfire. He must have one of them newfangled electric toasters.
What was the big, like, smell back then? I wonder, for men. I wonder, when did cologne and perfume start coming out?
I thought we did one on that. Or no, it was deodorant, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Shopping list. But all of these advertisements, well, they really reflected progressive domestic ideals. Advertisements often paired toasters with, well, other modern kitchen appliances, such as the coffee maker or the electric egg cookers. And this really created the image of a fully electrified, futuristic kitchen, all wrapped in chrome with that green seal.
Mm-hmm.
Was it turquoise that I'm thinking about? Was you know what I'm talking about? The color?
Are you talking about like the powder blue that was everything back then?
Yeah, with the chrome all around it, like it was
Mm-hmm. And like
everywhere.
white pieces.
That's the toaster that I have pictured in my head.
I'm pretty sure it was powder blue because everything back then was powder coated, I believe,
Yeah.
and baked. So it was probably a powder blue. I think they only had so many colors, like
Mm.
blue, yellow, red, maybe green.
Anyway, so you want to get into that pop culture?
Right. Toasters appeared in magazines, newspapers, and even films as must-have items for middle-class households. Popular 1930s household magazines depicted the toaster alongside recipes and kitchen tips, subtly suggesting that owning one was the sign of sophistication and good taste. By the late 1930s, toasters were becoming common enough to appear in comic strips and cartoons, reinforcing their place in everyday life.
So during World War II, manufacturing priorities shifted to support the war effort, right? And it started slowing innovation and household appliances. So some toaster factories were repurposed for, well, military electronics or equipment, really delaying widespread adoption. But the post war boom after 1945, the economic growth and expanded electrification, it really allowed more American families to afford toasters. And by the late 1940s, the toaster was firmly embedded in the American domestic life, not just as a convenience, but as a symbol of post war prosperity and modern living.
Mini fact here, some households use toaster recipes published in magazines, such as browned sandwiches or crisped muffins, showing that the appliance also influenced culinary creativity.
This is hilarious to me. Like, you're going to have recipes and magazines to show you how to toast bread.
Yes.
I mean, I guess if it's a new
Or
thing,
or
right?
muffins. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Everybody has to know how to use it so they don't burn their house down.
I'm laughing about the toaster during this era, but my children are going to be like, they had to have instructions for the air fryer.
Yeah,
Yeah. Same about the microwave, I'm sure.
most definitely. So we're going to move on to the mid-century breakthrough. And in the 1950s and 60s, toaster design evolved rapidly to meet both consumer safety demands and convenience desires. Automatic browning controls were introduced, allowing users to select the exact level of toast darkness, a big step from earlier single-setting toasters, which were all or nothing, I guess.
Yeah. And so thank you for those little steps because my Pop Tarts, I like them light. My toast, I kind of like it medium, but my bagels, I like them kind of a little darker.
Definitely brown
Yeah.
with some cream cheese.
Oh, yeah.
They also had adjustable slots. They became standard, accommodating different bread sizes and thicknesses. That got lost somewhere. That did. That bread slice thickness. I don't know. I don't think I could put a piece of Texas toast in my toaster.
Well, I don't use a toaster. I use an air fryer. So, yeah, I can do that.
Mm-mm. So that's rude. Okay, revolution. Right. That's what that guy says. Anyway,
We should have went back in time and got us an adjustable slot toaster.
and I bet they make them, but I bet you're going to pay $900 for it. So this was particularly important as sliced bread varieties were diverse, including thicker artesian loaves and thinner sandwich bread. They also started to come with insulated exteriors, which improved safety, reducing the risk of burns, and making toasters more practical for busy households with children.
But let's move on to the 70s and the 80s. And this is where specialized and wide slot toasters. Well, this was the rise of frozen foods and bagels, and this really led to the rise of those wide slot toasters. They were designed to handle items that were impossible to put in those early designs because you got to buy more. Innovations included the dual slot designs, separate heating controls for each side, and removable crumb trays for, well, easier cleaning. You don't have to flip it upside down anymore.
And shake it.
This period really saw a boom in toaster patents as companies like Sunbeam, Toastmaster, General Electric, they really all competed to add the unique features and they really wanted to corner the market. Some patents focused on aesthetics, while others emphasized mechanical improvements and energy efficiency. But none of them really focused on toasting bread effectively.
By the late 20th century, toasters had become a standard appliance in homes across North America, Europe, and even parts of Asia. In some countries, toasters influenced breakfast habits and bread consumption, shaping how people prepared and ate their first meal of the day. Some high end toasters began incorporating design innovations by industrial designs, turning a functional appliance into a style statement in the kitchen.
But these innovations, they show how a seamlessly simple device underwent continuous redefinement, balancing safety, convenience, and user control. The toaster, well, it had evolved from a risky experiment with exposed wires to really a versatile, reliable, and to a culturally significant household tool. So the toaster market was dominated by companies like Toastmasters, Sunbeam, and General Electric, all of which were seeking to innovate and capture more of the growing consumer base. In other words, they wanted you to buy their product. By the 1960s and 70s, international brands from Europe and Japan, they started to enter the market. And this really started to intensify competition. Companies raced to combine performance, safety, and style, knowing that the toaster had become both a functional appliance and a symbol of modern living.
The post war era brought chrome finishes, colorful plastics, and sleek minimalist designs, reflecting broader trends in household aesthetics. Designers began treating toasters not just as a utility, but as decorative kitchen objects, blending form with function. Some vintage toasters from the 1950s through the 70s are now considered collectible items, fetching high prices among design enthusiasts and collectors of mid century modern appliances.
I wouldn't mind having one of the toasters from that time period. I think it would be cool to have.
Some of them are kind of cool looking.
Competition fueled consistent technological innovation. Variable browning controls allowed users, well, to really customize that toast to their preferred darkness. Because some people like it light, some people like it really dark, some people like it burnt. I am not Cajun style, sorry.
No, I do not like it burnt either. I like a light dusting of brown.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Put a little butter, a little
Jelly.
dandelion jelly on it, yeah.
I'm good with that.
So dual slots and extra wide slots accommodated bagels, frozen bread, and specialty items. Some companies even experimented with automatic pop-up sensors and energy-saving features.
Advertising emphasized speed, convenience, and safety, appealing to the post war desire for modern, labor saving appliances. Brands positioned their toasters as must have kitchen tools, often pairing them with other electric appliances to sell the ideal modern kitchen experience. That's when you got the toaster and the stand mixer and the microwave and the refrigerator, and they all match.
So the toaster became both a functional and cultural icon. It represented technological progresses, domestic efficiency, and even personal taste in the household style. Because as Kat said, you could get that toaster to match your refrigerator.
Hmm.
But today's toasters, well, they have advanced far beyond the simple pop-up models of the 20s, right? Now we have smart toasters with Wi-Fi connectivity. You know, you can control it with an app, programmable settings. You can tell your Alexa, start the toaster. And if I just started your toaster with your Alexa, you're welcome. And you can also select that exact browning level. You can also schedule toasting times and even control multiple toasters remotely. Some models, well, they're integrated with the smart home ecosystems and they enable the toaster to start automatically when your morning routines are triggered or even adjust toasting based on the type of bread that's detected in the toaster. How crazy is that to go from simple toasting, you don't get to select the darkness to, hey man, I got a camera in my toaster, that's good enough.
You can buy one of them for like 80, $90. I was just checking because I wanted to see the price.
That's way less than $900 for a simple toaster that didn't do anything. Yeah.
Absolutely. But that's exactly why I looked it up. I was like, I bet this is $900. I was pleasantly surprised to see only like 89.99 on Amazon.
So yeah, you can have your toaster do all this different stuff. You can control it with an app. Back in the day, just think, people didn't even understand how to press the button down to toast it. Now you have an app.
So modern appliances catered to diverse diets and bread types. There's bagels, artisan loaves, frozen bread, and specialty breads. All have dedicated settings. High-end toasters often include features like extra wide slots, precision browning sensors, removable crumb trays, and quiet operation. And sometimes more than just two slots.
And maybe they have a reminder that can text you and say, don't forget me.
Don't forget me. Yeah, it's so bad. There are even toasters designed for gluten-free or low-carb breads, showing how appliances continue to adapt to changing consumer needs. Wait, gluten-free and low-carb breads toast different? Reckon I've never tried.
If you're into gluten free or low carb, let us know. I'm curious.
I mean, eaten keto, not keto, geez, well, keto bread, so that would be low carb and gluten-free, but I've never toasted it. Like the bread doesn't taste bad. I've never toasted it though. I didn't even think it would toast different.
I know I probably didn't land this episode quite like you did with the dandelion episode with me, but still, you got to think the toaster is an innovative thing that you never really think about, an everyday object that came from a labor intensive task to simplified, press the button down, light, dark, whatever you want.
While I agree that innovations of today had to start somewhere, and I do enjoy going down the history of them, I do think that it has made us as humans quite lazy.
And I say, with that, let's do 10 weird and fun facts about the toaster that weren't covered in this episode.
Oh, better fun facts. There's lots of fun facts in this episode, full of factoids.
There we go. Factoid.
Factoids.
You want to do number one or you want me to do it?
I can do it.
All right, go for it.
So, a toaster museum exists, believe it or not. While there isn't a standalone physical toaster museum in the UK, toasters are featured in museum collections and design exhibits, showcasing vintage, rare, and novelty models from over a century ago. Some virtual archives also document historical toasters like a toaster museum online.
Need to check that out. Toasters have been used in science experiments because students and engineers have tested toaster wires for conductivity experiments, exploring the limits of heat and electricity. So the toaster enters science experiments.
Pop up toasters inspired early robotics. The spring loaded mechanism influenced simple robotic ejecting mechanisms in early industrial automation research.
So, in pop culture, a toaster once appeared as a time machine prop in a 1980s short film, symbolizing everyday objects turned, well, extraordinary, like the DeLorean. Do you like that?
I do. Back to the Future.
Yeah.
And the DeLorean was a lemon of a car, wasn't it?
It really was very heavy, didn't go very fast. I mean, 88, Marty McFly was really pushing it to get it to 88. We got to do a whole episode on the DeLorean. I'll put it on the shopping list.
I know that I've read about it like once, but of course that was probably like 15 years ago.
The toaster in this episode would probably go faster. We
That's tragic. Jeez. All right, novelty designs abound. Some toasters have been made to toast images or logos onto bread, including faces, cartoons, and even company logos. I have seen those.
Yeah, even the Jesus toast.
Hmm.
Toasters as a prank device. Early engineers sometimes used toasters for hidden pranks like toasting the same slice multiple times or ejecting the toast, well, unpredictably or extremely ejecting it. Use your imagination.
Wow. Sometimes use toasters for hidden pranks, huh?
Could you
Hmm.
imagine you go to get your toast and it just flies away?
It's just on the ceiling. Like, what am I going to do? Goodness.
Butter
So,
side up.
butter, right, butter side, exactly.
Murphy's
So,
Law.
if it will, it will. The toaster and microwaves competed for each other. So before microwaves became common, toasters were marketed as the fastest bread heating appliance, sparking minor appliance rivalries and ads. Okay, okay, fair, but you can't really microwave bread and make it toast. It
Yeah,
makes it a hard rock. Okay, you can't even chew on bread if you put it in the microwave.
yeah, there's no competition. They each serve their own purpose.
No competition.
Okay.
Separate things, separate jobs. Agreed.
Um, some novelty toasters use ceramic or glass heating elements, which were experimental and never really they just weren't never mass produced. But this really highlights early engineering creativity.
Toaster patents inspired other appliances. Patents for dual slot and timing mechanisms were later adapted for waffle irons, sandwich makers, and even popcorn poppers.
Thank you, toasters, especially for the waffle irons.
So, are we still thanking Michael Faraday?
Well, if it weren't for Michael Faraday, we wouldn't even have a toaster, would we? In Japan, some toaster models were designed specially for rice cakes, well, instead of bread. And this really showed the global adaptation far beyond Western breakfast. Kat, that's pretty much all I've got on the toaster. I like my toast lightly brown.
Me too.
And
Just
if it,
adjusting.
yeah, and if it pops out of the toaster, it's always going to go butter side down, right?
Yes, it's not going to stick to the ceiling.
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't be putting butter toast in your toaster anyway.
No, it's probably not a good idea. Don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't do that. You didn't hear that from us.
No, nope. Don't try that at home. So, if you'd like to support this podcast, tell a friend and help get the word out.
If you would like to help us keep the show going, you can do so by going to Patreon. You can find that link in the show notes.
William and I want to thank you for listening.
Whether you've been with us from day one or just tuned in, we want to say thank you.
Join the Facebook group at Info on the Go
Over there, you can share with us your show ideas.
or ask us a question.
But whatever you do, stop now. and hit that follow button wherever you're listening to this podcast.
Send us a text using the link in the show notes or leave a review.
Leaving that review really does help others find us. But if you would like, you can also email Kat and I directly at
infoonthegopodcast@gmail.com.
till next time.
Stay curious.
Every morning starts with a choice. Don't settle for just coffee. Rise up with strong coffee. Meet the world's strongest cup of joe. Strong isn't just a drink, it's a movement. And strong stands for striving to reach our natural greatness.
Born from one simple need to be better. They rebuilt coffee from the ground up, infusing organic coffee with collagen, protein, nootropics, and functional ingredients that fuel your body and sharpen your mind. There's no crash, no compromises, just clean energy, focus, and flavor that fires you up.
Whether you're chasing kids, chasing goals, or chasing greatness, don't just wake up, rise up. Strong coffee, the world's strongest cup of joe, for a world ready to be better.
Use code INFOGO at checkout to save 15%.